We have briefly discussed about the outcome-based learning in our previous videos. It is a learner-centric approach where the focus is on what the student learn instead of what we teach. We also mentioned about 4 key questions related to the outcome-based educations. One of the key questions is, how do you close the loop? So, what does it mean by closing the loop? What is the loop actually? Now you can imagine the outcome-based learning as indicated in the diagram here. You will see there are 3 cycles at different levels. In terms of the outcome, there are course outcome, program outcome, and program objectives. This is in line with the outcome that we have discussed in our previous videos. The course outcome shall later be brought forward to the program outcome and subsequently to the program objective. That means under the outcome-based education model, these outcomes are interrelated. Attaining the course outcome shall directly influence the attainments of the program outcome and subsequently the program objectives. Now for each type of outcome here, there is one complete cycle which constitutes the assessment 2, data analysis, and continual quality improvement CQI. Same goes to the program outcome as well as the program objective. There shall be a series of assessment tools that you're going to use in order to measure the attainment status of the course outcome. Based on the result from the assessment, you will analyze the data and observe the performance of the course at the course outcome level. Now, based on the results, you will evaluate the strength and weakness of that particular course in various aspects, such as the teaching and learning activities, the assessment methods, and so on so forth. And you will keep the strength as well as proposed improvement for the course outcome level. There should be actions at the CQI part here. The ultimate goal here is to improve the qualities of teaching and learning, make it effective for the students to learn so that they are able to attain the course outcome. Once you completed the CQI part, the entire cycle restarts. Now the meaning of closing the loop here, it will be having the CQI and restart the entire cycle again, where you will have to go through again the assessment, data analysis, and CQI. This constitutes a loop. Based on the attainment status of the course outcome, all the data and information shall be brought forward to the program outcome level, and then we will see the attainment status of that particular program as the collective of the course outcome. There will be another series of assessment tools. These assessment tools may not necessarily be the same as the assessment tools for the course outcome. Now the assessment here is meant to assess the program outcome. Then there will be analysis. At the second cycle here, we are looking at the performance of the program. We observe the strength and the weakness of the program, propose CQI, continual quality improvement for the program, and then take the actions and restart the cycle again. Once you have completed the second cycle, which is the program outcome, we shall proceed with the program objective. There will be the third cycle here. Again, there will be a series of the assessment tool, which may not necessarily be the same as the assessment tool that you use to assess the course outcome and the program outcome. you will need to do the data analysis and then proceed with CQI until you restart the cycle. You see the frequency of the assessment here. That means now the cycle durations at different level will be different. The course outcome level will look faster, while the program objective part will look slower. The frequency of the assessment for the course outcome level is typically by semester or yearly. As for the program outcome level, we are looking at the graduations. And lastly, at the program objective, we are talking about 3 to 5 years after graduations of the students. Now the entire OBE here is that you will have to have complete cycles at different levels, the course, program, and also the program objective. You can imagine the improvements of the program as indicated in the diagram here. I would say that you start here until reaching here, consider one cycle. So let's say now the first round of the cycle, the achievement is here. Because you are doing the CQI at various levels continuously, theoretically, by second time you complete the cycles of the program objective, you have elevated your program up to the next level. And then after the third cycle, you have reached to another level. The idea here is the entire OBE, although the mechanism is repetitive, but the entire conditions of the program is not stationary. It's supposed to be continuously improving. There shall be difference and improvement from cycles to cycles. Now, if you do not see the improvements of the program, instead you only see the repetitions of the process, probably something is wrong about your OBE. Now let us talk about the concept of OBE. You know that the spirit of OBE, it will be the continual quality improvement. And the entire thing about the OBE is to close the loop effectively. You have 1, 2, 3, 4 elements here, which are this, and this. They're supposed to respond in one cycle or in a loop. We are looking at the outcome. There will be program objective, program outcome, and course outcome. You will need proper alignments of this course outcome, program outcome, and program objective. It should theoretically look something like this. And there must be strong correlations between the course outcome to the program outcome and the program outcome to the program objectives. Your attainments of the course outcome should theoretically directly influence the attainments of your program outcome. Same goes to the attainments of the program outcome towards the program objective. We mentioned previously, it is not about grouping, mapping, and computing. We are really looking into the constructive alignments of the course outcome, program outcome, and program objective. You will have to first ensure this whole thing is well established. Next, when come to the assessment, you will need appropriate assessment tools in order to determine the attainments at different levels of the outcomes. Use the right tool to do the right measurements. Second, you will require a variety of tools so that it covers a broader perspectives, not to be biased, and give you more reliable results. Third, you will require appropriate numbers of the assessment. What does it mean by appropriate numbers of assessment? First, you will need to know that it is not the more the merrier. The more assessment that you have, of course will bring you more data, probably more accurate measurement, but this will bring up to your workload. You need to know that the functions of outcome-based education is to facilitate the quality of a program. It is a tool actually. The entire focus of the educations shall not be the OBE. The OBE shall instead service the educations and the program. Now, if you put too much effort into the measurements, you have so many measuring approach, so many data, and if you have overdone it, most of your workloads will focus on doing the OBE until to a state that you compromise the qualities of the teaching and learning, and this defeats the purpose of the outcome-based educations. Now the strategy here, the assessment should be just enough for good results, not to be too much, not to be overdone, as this will bring to you very high workload later. And your assessment here cannot be too little, which can affect the accuracy of the result, giving you bias, wrong evaluation results, which eventually brings you to nowhere. Now you have to fine-tune yourself to have the assessment with appropriate assessment tool, with a good variety of assessment tool, and with appropriate number for you to acquire just enough for good results. And that's it. You will have to find a balance between having the high workload on this OBE versus the effort that you put into the teaching and learning for the program. Now, this elaborate what does it mean by just enough for good results. Let's say now you can do really accurate measurement. The measured result closely resemble the reality, and the assessment tools is very effective. Then you will need less assessment tools. If your assessment tool is less accurate, or you know by nature it is indicative, indirect, subjective, and so on so far, probably you will need more assessment tools to cross-check each other. These are the basic principles for you to determine whether your assessment is being overdone or not. Everything will have to go back to the fundamental and the purpose of the assessment. You want to know something. You want to know the status as well as the performance of the program or the course. You want to identify the strength and the weakness of your course and the program. Now, if the measurements is sufficient enough for you to identify the problem, it is good enough. You don't have to make it extremely complicated, which at the end of the day, it brings no extra credit or bring no meaningful implications to your continual quality improvement later. Once you have your assessments determined, carry out the measurements, you will need to perform analysis based on the assessment data. You will need valid result and proper interpretations. Same principles apply. Your analysis does not necessarily to be extremely sophisticated. It should be done just nice for you to determine the attainment status of that particular CO, PO, or PEO. We want valid result and we want the right interpretations of the data. After the analysis, you will know the attainment status, the strength and the weakness of that particular course outcome, PO or PEO level. The next step it will be CQI, continual quality improvement. The improvement will need to be conducted continuously, and it should be something achievable and measurable, as well as effective. Now your CQI here will need to be bringing impact to improve the qualities of the program. It is not just for the sake of trying to completing the cycle. I observe many have problem here, even with experienced lecturer. As a part of the requirements of all the programs, the lecturer will have to propose something for CQI, which may or may not be implemented in future. This is not right. And some of the improvement proposed, the lecturer themselves do not even believe will be helpful to improve the program. This is also not right. Some even just for the sake of proposing, writing something to show that CQI is in place, and it ends up at the document level, and this is also not right. You have to go back to the fundamental purpose of this CQI, which you really want to improve the program. Therefore, you should propose something which you believe is going to improve and bring some impacts to the program, which is supposed to be positive, and it should be achievable, and which you also need to implement that in future. This is about the CQI. Now the OBE here, we are talking about having the entire loop complete and proceed with the second round, and so on so far. It should be continuous. To further elaborate this, you may refer to the table here. We have A, B, C, and D here, representing the A, B, C, and D. There are various scenarios here. The first scenario, you have all A, B, C, and D. They are in proper sequence, A, B, C, D, and go back to A and proceed. And this is OBE. The second scenario, you have complete A, B, C, and D. Now the sequence is improper. You do A first, and then go to the D, proceed with B, and then C, come back to A and again. Now the sequence is improper, and this is not OBE. Or you have the third scenario here. You have all A, B, C, and D. Now you do A, B, C, D, and then it ends at D here. There is no looping. That means this is not really an OBE. Let us look at the next scenario. You have A, B, and C. There is no CQI, which is D, in the mechanism here, and this is also not an OBE. Or you can have A, B, C, and D all together, but they are separate. They are not interrelated, which may also not in the proper sequence. In this case, they are not well aligned, so it is also not OBE. And sometimes you also see BC, BC, BC. This is definitely not outcome based. There is no outcome in the model here. By looking at this, you know that what constitutes the outcome-based education. First, you must have 4 components. They should be in proper sequence, and the loop should restart once it ends, and also they should be interrelated, well aligned, having the same purpose, wanting to improve a program. This also gives you an idea why many programs, even though they seem to have OBE, but does not really function as an OBE, which you see in the documentations. You have all 4 elements here, but the first and the last element here stay in the document. What most programs is always doing, they do the assessment, and they do the analysis. So even though it looks like OBE, what is actually happening, it is actually BC model, which is not really an OBE. Or some may have the program outcomes, course outcome, and program objective well aligned, but lack of CQI. This is also not OBE. You will see the entire program stagnant without any improvement over times.